Okay.
Wonderful. Okay, we're going to get started then. Okay, so I'm glad to see everyone here. For all those who are live with us today and then on the replay later on, welcome to everyone. Excuse me. Now, welcome to the Edge of Evolution, Ancient Lineage, Quantum Possibility. Oh, we have someone. I'm just letting someone else in. So good evening, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to everyone who is live here today, and also to all those who will be watching or listening on the replay. Welcome to the Edge of Evolution, Ancient Lineage and Quantum Possibility. I am Cassandra Cooper. I'm your host today, and I'm a guide, healer, and teacher with Modern Mystery School in the lineage of King Solomon. Tonight, the first series of conversations that I have planned over the next 6 months, we plan to peel back the mystery of Modern Mystery School and the ancient tools contained within. It's my hope to provide you with an Australian voice to the ancient path of Know Thyself, a path where great healing and transformation is possible. Tonight's topic is quantum shift, ancient technology for a new paradigm. I hope that you'll gain a greater insight into why, if you want it to be true and lasting, why growth in using an ancient technology is so important or so valuable in today's life. So I am joined today with a very special guest and who also has a connection to Australia, and that is Wendy Benning-Swanson, also a qualified guide, healer and teacher with Modern Mystery School, and also author of 2 books. One just recently released last week, I believe, which is called Inner Powerment, a story of her own journey on the path to know thyself. She's here not only as a teacher today, but as someone who has walked the path and who knows what it takes to heal, transform, and grow. So here we are. Thank you for joining. I just now invite you to take a little breath in and out. And so Wendy, welcome. So I mentioned before that it was important to me that our conversations are Australian voiced. That's me, by the way. I'm the Australian. Wendy, however, has a connection to Australia. I met Wendy a few years ago and she came running up to me and tapped me on my shoulder and introduced herself and said, "Are you the girl from Tasmania?" I don't know if you remember that. And I was blown away because Tasmania is the most exotic place in the world. And no one comes from Tasmania. So what is your connection?
Yes. Well, in college in 1997, I went to the University of Tasmania for a year. So I lived in Tasmania and Hobart for a year.
And it's so rare because when people do exchange student programs, I'm always hearing, oh, Sydney, Melbourne, or Brisbane, never Hobart. So We're lucky.
Yeah, I think that's why I wanted to go somewhere unique that not many people go.
Yeah.
And it was between there and New Zealand. And I chose Tasmania.
Well,
Yeah.
that's great
And it
because
was the most magical year ever. So I loved it.
and you want to come back, don't you?
I do, yes.
Good.
I'm thinking retirement because that's our winter,
Oh,
just
like
go to
you really want to come
Tasmania.
back.
Yeah, yeah.
Good. Cool. Okay, so in your book, Inner Empowerment, you share your journey, your personal journey of healing and self mastery, or the journey to self mastery. Um, I really related a lot to your personal story, and it actually touched me quite deeply. And I loved hearing about it because it's always the personal stories that touch us the most. Um, so I just wanted to um, ask you because I mean, all of our journeys are long. Like it feels like it took us quite quite a way before we find something that truly works. And in our case, the modern mystery school, the path to know thyself with those ancient technologies. Um, so what do you think? What was the final thing that led you uh, briefly guide us through the journey and and what led you finally to the modern mystery school?
Yeah. Well, the it is a journey. And that's one reason why I wanted to write the book because, it's hard in a 10 minute conversation to truly explain the depth and the potential of the shifts with this work because it is so deep. And for me, the journey really began when my husband passed away, which it's been about 16 years ago now, but I was left with a 1-year-old son. And that really sparked something within me, which was, what happened to him because my son could see him and would tell me stories of being able to see him. And at the time, I thought that was wild. I just didn't believe that, I guess. I didn't, and I just didn't ever had thought about it. I was pretty young. Um, and but at the end of the day, it really sparked, what happens when we die, but really what is this life all about? What am I doing here? What's my purpose? If something can happen so quickly, it was like an unexpected death, then what do I need to be doing while I'm here? And, from that point, it took me about 10 years to actually find the mystery school.
Mm.
And so, it was like a search. Um, and I'm grateful for that search because it gave me kind of a basic understanding, of spirit, of what spirit guides were, what um, self-mastery is.
Mhm.
And so that by the time I found the school, the spark was um, when I saw a show and one of the international teachers, her name is Dr. Teresa Bullard, she talked about divine potential. And that's really the spark um, that got me to step forward and receive a life activation. Because no one in anything I had done before no one was talking about divine potential. I don't even know if I knew what it meant, but it was just something unique that you don't hear from the Tony Robbins and the other self-help um, groups. And
Yeah.
it was self-help, but also a little had the spiritual piece in it as well.
Yeah, I feel like I also went on the self-help mission. There was always something within me that really wanted better all the time.
Mm.
Like in my 20s, I would go to these conferences and, buy the books, buy the CDs, that they all CDs
Mhm.
back in those days, and listen to the affirmations and really do my homework. Um, which then prepared me for phase two in my journey, and that was a fitness evolution, and then I, tried to push the edge of what I could do physically and mentally, and it wasn't until I too had a moment of crisis, a breakdown, that really caused me to wonder, well, what am I beyond this physical self, so there's always seems to be this long winding road, and I always say it's like a mountain, like with the spiritual
Mhm.
seeker with the backpack. um, and that's the mountain before you even get to the gold. And I too found Modern Mystery School through Dr. Teresa Bullard-White as well, from Gaia TV. Now, it happened to be that I was ready to hear something,
Mhm.
right? Which led me to pick up the phone to make the first call. And always when I'm talking to my initiates, they always seem to have gone through that path as well. It's always different. It looks different. It sounds different, but it's, that journey. Yeah. I wonder, and then having had that journey, you then picked up the phone and you did what you needed to do. You found something within those ancient tools. And I read in your book, and we're friends, so I know you. There's, the tools are on paper as they are, however, there's something very magical that happens when you receive them and you
Mm.
experience them. And if you go to initiation, then you get to use them for yourself, via the rituals. I'm just wondering, in your own experience, how does that, what's happening there with those tools, and what have you, yeah, what's happening, and how does it look in real life for you personally?
Yeah, I had already been doing kind of a morning get up half an hour early and meditate before I took Empower Thyself, which was a really good platform to
Yeah,
just add rituals onto.
yeah, yeah,
Because it does take you have to have your will to actually do them, right? And set time aside in your day to actually do them.
mm,
But because of all the self-help, work I had done, um, I was willing to try anything. It was like, okay, you say this is going to work. It's a little different than anything I've ever done before, but I'm going to just try it, you know,
yeah,
and if it doesn't work, then I won't do it anymore. And and I don't do this, but I told myself I wouldn't do it on weekends. It would just be Monday through Friday, um, before work, because I like to sleep in, you
yeah,
know. I made some weird rule in my mind, whatever it was, but at least it got me to do them.
yeah,
And after the first week, I could tell that my life was better. And exactly how I would say I had less anger, frustration, negative thinking. And so for me, that was something. Just like getting up a little bit early, doing, 10 minutes of rituals can do that, then wow, that's, it's pretty amazing. Um, so, but I think we have to have that proof within. That was what, and eventually I started doing it every single day, of course. But um, I think the tools are there and they're powerful. And I've learned, because I've been doing this for quite a long time, that they actually teach you the most powerful tools and empower thyself. I would have thought, you only get less powerful ones to begin with. And then once you get down the path, you get more powerful ones. But that's actually not the case. I still haven't found anything as powerful as the tools and rituals you learn and empower thyself. Um, and they can change your life, which I don't know anything else out there that has that potential, like in 10 minutes a day.
Yeah, it's
But you have to have your own experience with that. I don't think me telling you that does much. You have to, kind of prove that to yourself.
yeah, go experience it for yourself. And you're right, it isn't an easy thing to communicate to someone. However, you know, I because we have that, that science mind, like you like to test, and I do too, like when I didn't know. So when I first went to Empower Thyself, I had no idea what was happening, by the way. I just I just went. But and now that I'm a teacher of Empower Thyself, I get to go over the material over and over again. And just because I'm the teacher doesn't mean anything. I'm still the student, right? That's my philosophy, anyhow. But it's like you're so right. The foundation is where, you know, so much importance is, even as a guide myself, I still do those rituals twice a day. Like there's no escaping that. They're there for a reason. But I also love this idea that these rituals, along with initiation, the magic, so the ancient technology of the ancients. So King Solomon, we name our lineage after King Solomon, because he consolidated these technologies. And when I say technologies, I'm talking about, I mean, the classes, the activations, the initiations, because they're working so on so many different levels. They're multidimensional, shall we say. But it's when we are using these, I mean, like if we go back to the first step, and I suggest to people to receive the life activation first, and it awakens your spiritual DNA and opens up that blueprint. And then, it's like working with that, with our DNA of who we truly are, awakening that within us. And then when we go to a class, and using the technology of the class, the teacher there holds the energy, and the classes are delivered in such a way that is the ancient technology, right? And then our DNAs then worked again. And it's like it's always working and expanding and evolving. This is just how I've like come to feel it in myself. And then, this word quantum is like so, it's used everywhere now. Like it's quantum physics. It's, like there's a string entanglement, and like I just can't go there because it's very advanced. But I imagine that this technology is very connected to that realm of infinite possibilities, which is what you, Wendy, were saying before about that divine potential, about the unlimited, that potential. And there's these rituals that you receive, and the tools that we use, that we are able to harmonize ourselves so that we can interact um, in the quantum and make changes. And I feel like that's the thing that propels us further and faster. It just gigs me out a little bit. I really love this this way of explaining it. But so we go through and we have these tools, we have the classes, but you're a teacher of lots of other different things as well. Have you had that experience where perhaps students have come in and they've also interacted with the magic of the mystery school? How have your students, how have they found uh, this?
Yeah. When you were talking about the quantum, it just the word magic came to my mind because, like you said, sometimes it's hard for us to to really understand what happens to us when we use these tools, like you're saying. And we use the word magic sometimes just to explain the unexplainable, right? And so, um, yeah, I have what I love is when my clients um, see that magic. And sometimes we our brains can't fully comprehend everything that's shifting in our lives, but we see the outcome. So we don't know exactly how that happened.
Mm.
And that's what I would say the magic or the technology, right? You're talking technology.
Mm.
Um, and, I had a client, she's been working with me for about a year and a half, and she just sent me an email. And when she first came in, she was in physical pain. She couldn't even go to the grocery store and, go shopping because she was just physically in so much pain. And, we talk about healing. It's healing us on multiple levels, that quantum, right?
Yeah.
And so I haven't even done Reiki, like a physical healing to her. It's all been, the activations, empower thyself. And then she did recently go to Healers Academy. But she just sent me a note and she said, I am not in pain anymore. I have no pain. I am doing all these different clubs like Bunko, and um, she's in a community where they have lots of potential things to do. And she's like, I never thought in my life I would overcome this pain and be able to live life with joy.
Yeah.
Um, and I think she understands that she had all these healings and she chose that. And she's working really to understand what it all means, but there's a piece of her that doesn't understand how, right? That doesn't, how did I get from there to here? Um, and she's working to do that, of course, right? That's the path of know thyself. But we don't even have to totally understand how that works for it to work, which is what I think is amazing about it.
Yeah, you're so right. The thing, the magic is the creative aspect of the science, the bit that we don't understand. It sits outside of outside of logic. And I absolutely love magic. When we throw up our hands and say, oh, it must be magic. But yeah, it's one.
Well, magic is only what science can't define yet, right?
Yeah.
100 years ago would be magic, or 200 to have a vehicle, a car, or, antibiotics would be magic. Um, so it's not that there's not something there, right? We can't explain it quite yet
Yeah.
in terms that everyone can understand.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I always think, now is a particularly interesting time to be alive. And I remember hearing it, but I didn't quite uh, believe it, I suppose. I thought that maybe every generation got that speech, like now's the important time. But really, um, I saw that. Sorry, I just got a bit distracted. But King Solomon at that time, we know the story of him creating the life activation. And I always tell the story that he prophesied that there would be a time that humanity would need to remember who we truly are. And so he created the life activation of what we now call the life activation to activate that divine blueprint that we hold within us. And it blows my mind that to think that now is the time that he created that for. And then we know that founder Gudni Gunnarsson, he opened the doors almost 30 years ago, because now's the time that we all are ready to remember who we truly are. Now we got news, like you wouldn't think that looking out the door. You see the news and you see turmoil and this, it's like a different news story every minute, minute by minute. And next, last week we would have forgotten for sure what happened, because that's how quickly the news is turning over. Now in the mystery school we talk about the rays of Shambhala. We talk about Shambhala being it's a word that we use, I'd say, to describe peace on earth. And we talk also in the mystery school about new rays of light flooding the earth. And in that light brings about, showing, the time for no more secrets, as I heard Davina Rita tell me once. And so it's an interesting time. So it is really an interesting time to be alive. And I really do believe it. I think that now is time for leaders to really shine their light and to really progress and grow in new ways. I'm just wondering, Wendy, because I know that you're a leader as well. You've owned your own business, and it's been a quite a successful business that led you into, the self-help, going to courses, and I know stretching yourself professionally, educating yourself in all areas, which then led you to the mystery school. But are you finding as well people are coming to you? And, I understand for myself that leadership is going to look different in the new paradigm, right? It's going to look different. Power is not going to be a negative word, right? We're going to own who we truly are and allow others to be who they truly are. It's this world of being united, but also celebrating people in their uniqueness. Anyhow, I keep thinking about King Solomon and his prophecy. There would be a time that we would all need to remember who we truly are. I wonder if you have something to say about being a leader and knowing who you truly are, and why is that important? that you become.
Yeah. And when you were talking, what came to my mind was that inner power, right? Um, because a lot of leaders or a lot of what we've been taught out, in society and programmed into us is that external power, looking for validation in what you're doing, looking to prove yourself as being this powerful leader, let's just say.
Mm,
But the work is really internal, right? So it's the inner power. It's you know, as you're standing as a leader, you're able to speak truth for your own under coming from your own understanding of what that means and not needing that external validation to stand in that place, right? And I think that, but like you said, the rays of light, there's more rays of light coming in. And so more and more people are seeing the distortions and the untruths that are out there, whether it's their boss, whether it's their colleagues, whether it's, other people in their family, but they don't know what to do with it because they've never, they've just followed the flow. They haven't had to stand up and be a leader and question and have um, the ability to deal with the challenges that come with standing up and questioning because it's not going to necessarily be easy, right? But when you understand who you are and you work on that inner power and that self-mastery, you have more ability to stand in that truth. You're not as concerned about what other people say or think. You're going to be able to stand in that truth and in the light, we could say.
yeah.
Um, and so what I see, I do a lot of networking groups, and most of them have women in them. Um, so I can't necessarily say for the masculine as much, but a lot of the feminine is really, they're seeing this and they're wanting it. They're wanting to stand in their own power and their own empowerment and to live from that place. So, it is leadership, but of course it always starts within us before we can, put it out in the world. And there's a lot of people that are already starting down this path and no, not necessarily maybe with the school,
Yeah.
but then they get into the school and it just like they 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 just kind of explode forward because they're already walking it. They just didn't have the keys or they didn't have the understanding of what they were doing.
Mm,
And so it's giving them kind of an extra boost and okay, this is what I need to do what, I think the light that's coming in is showing me needs to be
mm.
done as far as leadership. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, totally. I also think like uh having connection to who you truly are, um, and working, getting, rebuilding that relationship that you have with yourself, then you kind of, like understand what you truly want as well.
Mhm.
Because, that was a huge thing that was missing for me personally. I was going
Mhm.
through life, I had run a business as well. I had done lots of different things, but I was really, building something that I thought that society had expected of me, or
Mhm.
or that I thought that it should be this way, or it was, and it was, there was so much friction always because
Mhm.
I was always fighting something. I was always trying to. It was always a struggle, anyhow. And in the end, I broke because I just was filling my life with so many things, uh, and it's just looking back now. it's hardly any wonder that I did break, right? So as we, as I've started on this path to know thyself, connecting in with what I truly want, my purpose is huge for me. I think I was always looking for that. Oh, maybe it's this thing that I need to do to help people.
Mhm.
I always knew I needed to help people, but well, maybe it's this thing, or maybe it's this thing, or maybe I'll do it all thing, like maybe I'll just do it all. And then again, I was on the path to breakdown number two, so luckily, finding that path, allowed me, okay, strip that away, just strip it all back to begin with, find out who I truly am, what is truly important to me, and what is the way that I really resonate with. That's the thing that I'm really going to help people. For me, helping people was the number one priority. So, connecting in with that so that I could bring focus and clarity, uh, really was able to drive me forward. Uh, yeah. Yeah. Did you always know what you wanted, or kind of, yeah, just found it?
No, yeah, it's similar. It's I really thought, success was this, whatever that was. It was, having a successful business, starting a business, being a business owner, a woman business owner, um, and being a successful woman business owner would be like the ultimate joy, I guess, like success, like people, and it was that external, right? Like I needed that external validation that everyone would think, oh, she's a successful business owner. And even when I, became, decently successful and, and then you hear this all the time. You got there and it's like, now what? Like it doesn't fulfill that, whatever you thought that was. I think it's society. So, I've been taught that or I've seen it, and this is what other people are striving for. So that's what I want to strive for.
Yeah.
And, because I had that, event that, there's a death, I think that at least got me to look beyond the moment, right? Like, okay, well, we're all going to die. And what do I want to have left behind? Is it this? Who's going to remember me as a business owner of a staffing firm? Like, is that really my purpose? And if it was, that's great. It's not that it couldn't be. But yeah, as I took the classes in the school, especially Kabbalah, and started to really dig down and deeply understand who I was. And I talk about this in my book. I recognized at some point that I was not my business. I had
Mm,
such a deep attachment
mm,
to me being my business. And it's funny because I've heard other people, I've had this conversation with other people. In fact, just the other day, this woman was like, well, if because I mentioned that to her, and she's like, well, who am I without my business? And I was like, exactly. You are not your business or what you do.
yeah.
And she couldn't wrap her head around being anything other than what she did for a living. And I think that was the first aha. Like, okay, because it's like my business is successful, I'm happy. My business isn't successful, I'm not happy. It's this constantly, moving roller coaster. And there's no balance. It's either high or low, high or low.
Yeah.
You can't ever get to a point of, just being. So, So yeah, that's a huge piece is understanding that we're much more than our business. We're much more than, who we think we are.
Yeah. I really love this idea as well. Like in Empower Thyself, we get there's a very profound teaching that comes very early in the first day. And, it comes from this place of us being united. And we all got a glimpse of God, and we saw that aspect of God. And that was the aspect of God that we wanted to bring down for our physical experience here on earth. And I really love, like, thinking about that and considering, what did I see? What did I see that I really loved? And in that, like, am I expressing that? Am I living that out? Um, and it all is connected with, going back to the quantum, if you like. And, like, going through using the tools that we received kind of allows us to harmonize with that vision. It allows us to harmonize with what we say in the mystery school is the will of God. And therefore, then we can live that out. And I was thinking back to leadership and how the new rays of, the light is now shining in. We're entering into a new paradigm, and we really have to kind of unlearn all of those programmings of the I shoulds and this and that, and the conditionings and the masks that really limit us, so that we can step into the new afresh. We can start then, not necessarily tear down the old, keep what works, but then maybe let go of what doesn't. And then we can do that with ourselves. We can do that with ourselves. Uh, Unlearn the old programmings and the old conditionings in ourselves, and then, let go of what doesn't work, so that we can then maybe think about life in a whole new way. And that's exciting, because I want to live an outrageous life. Like, I want everyone to live an outrageous life. I want people to go beyond their imagination, and that's like, I did have a moment a few years back where I was like, I couldn't even imagine this. I couldn't have imagined this. And I've not, like, folks who are listening, I haven't really done very much, but in my own mind, I'm more free than I ever thought that I could be. Like, I'm thinking in new ways, and that's the thing that I couldn't imagine for myself, Um, so, yeah.
Well, and I think going back to what you were talking about before with the ancient technologies, if you think about that, it's those ancient technologies that got you to that point of feeling freedom, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And we are an accumulation of all of those ancient technologies that we've been through, right? All the initiations, all the healings, so it's hard to even say what one piece of it did that, right? But you did the work of it.
Mm.
And that's what I think is magical. Going back to the word magic. Um, or the quantum,
Yeah.
or the
Oh.
ancient it's like this is what King Solomon prophesized. He knew we were going to have to remove the masks. We were going to have to deprogram what we've been programmed into believing about ourselves. And um and so he brought together these tools, and they've been held and handed down over thousands of years for us to be able to do that. And the reason I wrote my book is because, like I said, it's hard to explain in a 1 hour even conversation the power and the potential for change and for joy and for inner peace through all of this technology, all these tools that you can't. I did my best to explain, but I think in there sometimes I explain that I can't explain how it works and why. I just know it works.
It for sure does. Hallelujah to that. Because but I was thinking, just as you were saying that, like, you can't explain in just 10 minutes or 1 hour or in one book or maybe in 1 week. Like, you just can never do it. Our understanding of it, we're not the same person we were yesterday even, so our understanding of it and the words that we use to communicate it changes rapidly. Yeah, but which is wonderful. Now, as we prepare to close our little chat, I was wondering, so if someone is listening tonight or on the replay and feels stuck or on the edge of change, what's one simple step they can take right now to align with their higher potential? What would you recommend?
Hmm. Well, I mean, obviously, get a life activation. That's almost like, you know, receiving a life activation and stepping forward into um, connecting more deeply with who you are. Um, but, you know, trust the guidance you're receiving. I've seen a lot of clients lately, they have whatever tools they need to connect with that guidance. Whether it's they have a practice of meditation or they use some sort of tool to get a yes or a no, whether it's, you know, there's many tools that
Mhm.
people have. There's tarot people use.
Yeah.
Um, but if you're questioning whether you should do that or you want to and you're not sure, just take some time to step into yourself because your inner self, your true self knows what you need. And um and then
Yeah.
trusting that.
That's great advice. Sometimes I forget also that that's almost exactly what I did do. I went in because
Exact that me too.
because by that stage, I was reading cards, angel cards a lot, and the message
Hmm.
keeps going, just repeating over and over. It was like on repeat. The message was like, take the next step. Don't second guess yourself. Go for it. Like, take this next step. And it's so funny because I mean, like, I felt that I found the mystery school and off I went, like, instantly. you know. But going back to what we were saying at the beginning of the conversation, just how much of a journey it takes to even get to that point. Um, so I would also recommend, tapping in and meditating, get that meditation practice going if you can, and align with your, for me, it was really physical and, working with the physical energy, because I was a personal trainer for such a long time, and had a fitness business, and I myself was athlete and things like this. So it's, you know, for me, you know, working with the physical energy was such a thing. And when I now know that language as chi, right? So working with the chi, and I could sit and contemplate my next best move, and I started to learn my body's signals as to what is good, what is right for me. However, I will like just to interject a little bit because, sometimes we go, okay, that's the right thing for us to do. And then all of a sudden, doubt comes in,
Mm.
doesn't it? And also the voice of other people who say, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? You should be doing this. So yeah, that can be a challenge. Is that what your clients find as well when they come to you?
Yeah, I think that's really the journey for a lot of people that are interested in this work.
Mm,
And like they're interested in it, but they keep hearing the the questioning of it. And but that to me is that inner power. That's what I was talking about before, is stepping into understanding who you are. So when you hear those things, you hear that doubt, you have a stronger base to stand from. Um, and yeah, it's again like trusting, self-trust, self-understanding. And that's really the journey, right? It's the chicken or the egg, right? How do you get to that self-trust without starting the journey? Um, there's a lot of people. It's not just you and me that had to really fight that fear of other people's, what would people think
mm,
if I do this? Um, and that's the journey, right? That really comes from our own not knowing what it is. And that's why I said, just, there's something within you that has that, like you said, like, if it's a yes or a no. And I think more and more people are understanding what that is. They're working on that aspect of themselves, that trust or that discernment.
mm.
Um, And that's the voice you want to trust, not the external naysayers. Or even your own naysayer. It's the negative ego, right? That's what we talk about, the negative ego, that this journey helps fight. You and empower thyself, you learn what that even means. Um, and then like through the journey, you learn how to overcome it.
Yeah.
That negative voice and that thing telling you,
I think it's
the
actually,
masks and the personality and all of that.
yeah, for me, for sure, I think that's the biggest blessing, you know,
Yeah.
that the knowledge of the negative ego, and also the uh the elimination of it, and it's not
Mhm.
easy. But wow, does life just look so rosy without it? Just oh, life is very peachy, with that negative ego in check for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we are at the end. We're at the bottom of our 1 hour episode. And we definitely, I think we've got some nuggets there, for sure. We've gone all over the place. We went all around the map, from talking about quantum shifts. The quantum leap is what was said to me all those years ago, and I didn't really understand. Um, However, I definitely felt the magic of quantum leaping in my life. Thank you so much to Wendy, who has just gotten up very early to talk with us. And I love that we have that Tasmanian connection.
Mm.
Yes, and I hope to maybe co-teach with you when you come to visit. Maybe wouldn't that be so fun?
My my plan is 2027, it would be 30 years.
Ooh.
So,
Oh my God, that's only 2 years away.
yeah, and if I could teach, then I could maybe write off the trip. That would be amazing. Go all
Absolutely.
the way to Tasmania for,
Yeah.
my business.
We should
That's the ultimate goal.
yeah, we should definitely work that out for sure.
Yeah, I love Tasmania. It's an honor, and I I hope we can do work together there at some
Yeah,
point.
I know that would be so fun. Do a little Warriors of Light training, you know?
Oh my gosh. Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. Let's do it. Okay, so whether you've been watching live or on the replay, thank you everyone who's been a part of this and listening. Um, I look very much forward to our next chat and our next meditation session. If you'd like to um, receive the link, then please make sure that you're on my email list. If you'd like to be in contact with Wendy, I'm going to make the link to her book available because it's a great little read about a personal experience, and she also has testimonials from her clients and things. So it's actually a really relatable book told through the lens of Wendy. So I recommend purchasing her book. And also, if you're in the United States, or then you can reach out to Wendy directly to receive the life activation and other technologies, or we say classes and initiations, etc. And of course, if you're in other places of the world, you're very much welcome to contact me, and I can hook you up with anyone that you may that is in your local area. Uh, so we are finished. Thank you everyone for joining, and it will be and see you next time.